I want to take a minute here quickly to congratulate a lot of the sports that have just finished up, in particular Coach Cook and the soccer group. Tremendous year. I know it didn't end the way they wanted to, but to have the season that they did is pretty remarkable and pretty cool. Obviously wish Kerry good luck here this weekend, and Coach Kleiman and his staff have done, to me, a remarkable job, tremendous job in some tough, difficult situations. For us, in particular, I'll reiterate what Maren did as well. Last night was an extremely, extremely special night. For me to lead a group into the Nodak Mutual Basketball Performance Center for the first time was really, really cool. And there wasn't a word spoken. There were just big, big smiles on their faces. And in fact, I wondered if they were following me for a while. I had to turn back and look just because they were basically in awe. And it really is special. And it's only going to continue to get more and more special for us, but we're really excited. There was things that you take for granted, and it just kind of hit me about 3 weeks ago as we were in our warehouse with one court and two hoops, and we were doing our pre-practice with one group on one end, another group on the other end, and 4 or 5 guys just standing there not being able to get some extra reps, some extra shots up, and again, so appreciative of the opportunities that we had and making the most out of a transition, but really, really excited to be in our Nodak Mutual facility that we were in again last night too. As far as a little bit about the State of the Union where we're at, a little bit of a balance. If you look at our roster, 11 of our 15 kids are still freshmen and sophomores. At the same time, we do have 6 kids that played significant minutes back. And I think what you're going to find, especially from me, is trusting 7, 8, and 9, especially early, to try to build some depth. I think we all, in particular, I am very comfortable with those 6, that played significant last year of our 7. But now it's finding some guys, and trusting some guys and letting some guys go through some things on the court, making some mistakes. It's going to happen, with the youth that we have and some of those depth and experience positions that we need to develop. And we need to develop early. Last night was really encouraging. Chris Kading was moving around out there pretty good for the first time in about 7 months. 2 extensive hip surgeries, a right shoulder surgery, and we'll move him around again tonight. Like Maren, we'll take tomorrow off, and then I believe he's going to see a doctor on Wednesday to get final confirmation. But I've said it before about the young man. He doesn't show up a whole bunch in the box scores with points, rebounds, assists, but he is an absolute glue and an absolute rock and cleans up so many messes for us, especially defensively. And there were just little things that you go back out there and you're watching. And I turned to Steph, our trainer, last night. I said, I'm mad at you. You've held him out for this long. No, but I do want to make this loud and clear. Steph and our doctors have done a tremendous job in a tough situation too. I know red shirt's a big question. I will say this, Kai Cabellas from Escondido, California, will play. As far as the other guys, we were in some conversations last night, and we'll continue to be in some of those conversations and might not have a great answer for you until 5:29 Pacific time on Friday. So any other questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Can you just talk about that fine line of the future of the program and the right now of the program with those red shirts?
Yeah, I think when you look back at history, everybody redshirts for different reasons. Ben Woodside, Mike Nelson, Brett Winkleman, and Luke Mormon, they redshirted because there was one opportunity. It was the only opportunity they would have if they would redshirt in that 5th year to be eligible. You look at Dexter Warner, who redshirted, and he wasn't going to play. He wasn't going to play behind Marshall Bjorklund and Jordan Auberg and Chris Kading. AJ was a guy that came in and wanted to redshirt. Quite frank, Saul and I went back and forth for a while because we knew there's just different circumstances and situations that go into it. And we maybe do it a little different in the recruiting process. We sell it to them a little bit that it is their decision, and we might encourage this or encourage that, but at the end of the day, it's up to them and their families. And, that message has been good for us in the past, and we'll continue with that for the time being. And again, I think that's where we're at in the process, letting some of the young men digest, last Saturday's scrimmage, last Wednesday night's exhibition, some conversations that we've had. Last night and today are very much Bison day of practices. We'll take tomorrow off and then get into our prep for UC Davis.
What did you take takeaways from the freshmen from the exhibition game?
Yeah, I would say that there's some talent there. I think that just with anything, it's the game's moving very fast, and they showed signs, they showed glimpses To me, it's just the same things we've seen in practice. Now it's about sustaining them, learning from some of those experiences. And again, that's what I have to hold myself accountable to. I understand that Kai's going to play. He's going to be probably our first guard off the bench or sixth or seventh man. Kai's going to play, and he needs to go through some trials and tribulations on the court. That's the only way he's going to learn. That's the only way we're going to get better and hopefully be where we need to be come January, February, March.
Chris is going to play. Is he going to be ready for
I'm not going to go that far, Brian. Not quite, but very encouraged at how he was moving in playing. Again, we get a doctor's stamp of approval. And the funny part about Chris is he's going into PT. He knows his body better than anybody. Last year I fought him, told him he should have had one of these hip surgeries before the season. He said, "No, I can make it." He made it, barely, and it was great for us, and I'm glad he did it, and we trusted him and held him out of some things. So I'm going to trust him more than anybody.
We talked about this a little bit, but the new defensive rule changes and how the guys are adjusting that as practice goes along. I mean, you anticipate the first couple of games maybe to see more free throws and that sort of thing?
Oh, absolutely. I didn't think we did a great job in the first half against Mary the other night, and they were a different matchup for us. They had some probably 1 through 4, pretty athletic guys that can bounce it, which was good for us to go against. We didn't have as many fouls in our scrimmage, which was encouraging. I think hopefully we have in the past taught it the right way and continue to teach it the right way of playing defense with our feet, showing our hands. But it's going to be real interesting. You go back to 2-3 years ago at UND when everybody and what we're getting told from the very top. And it's a luxury that we have. J.D. Collins was the Summit League Director of Officials last year. Now he's the NCAA Director of Officials. And what we're getting, and passed down from him to Mike Sanzier, that they're going to be held accountable for it. Not the first 2 weeks, not the first 2 months, and that we all need to trust this and be held accountable to it. And it might be a 2-year process.
When did you know that Kai was not going to be redshirted?
We didn't recruit him on that premise. When you lose a point guard like that, we went after some guards because we felt like we obviously needed some help there, needed some depth there. He came in and had some excellent practices, and then he got sick for a little while, and you start to, not question, but think about some other things. And I told him that yesterday. I thought he practiced maybe a little bit like he thought he was going to redshirt and wasn't maybe as aggressive as he had been. But he was able to get home for a little bit here, talk to some things, get away, refresh, and we sat down yesterday and we were both very much on the same page.
What's different for you now as second year in the Summer League?
Maybe a little bit of an understanding of what, there's just so many, as Chris will tell you, as Marin will tell you, there's a lot of different, obligations, there's decisions that you're making constantly. There's a comfort level by going through it, once. But for the Summit League in particular, last year I was one of 6 new coaches. And I don't think you can judge those 6 new coaches on their first year. What type of recruits are they going to play? How are they going to change their style? And so I think we're in a very transient period for the next couple of years in Summit League men's basketball because of the turnover that happened last year. I do know this. It was nice to have a 3-year starting point guard to roll with, the first year. Everything that we weren't as of now, I think we do have some talent. I do think we have the ability to be deeper. We weren't these things last year, but it's about how a group comes together, and that's what's going to be fun and encouraging to see here, in the next 6 weeks of non-conference.
And how do you encourage this team? Again, low expectations last year, obviously surpassed them this year, kind of the same expectations.
I guess I've never been able to define what an expectation is. To be honest with you, our expectations are to get better every single day. And if we do that, everything will take care of itself. If we start listening to this person or that person, we'll find ourselves not even close to where we want to be. We need to stay tight as a group, focus in every day, and get better.
Playing Carlin and Paul together, both were point guards coming in, is that a thing where one is definitely the 1 and one's the 2, or can they both kind of run the offense?
Yeah, I think we would define it, for the most part as Carlin's the 1, Paul's the 2 with their strengths and weaknesses, but it is also a nice luxury to have, especially, like we talked about with the rules. It's becoming a real ball-in-hand, offensive-friendly game. It is. And when you have multiple guys on the floor that can handle it, that can get by people, that can get feet in the paint, it's a nice luxury. And you know, depending on some certain lineups, you could easily see us go with Kai, Carlin, and Paul at times too. I also think the three of those rebound very well defensively, and that gets our break started pretty quick as well.